On Hot Copy this morning, banking on more than a decade of legislative experience and, may I add, spotless. Former Senator June Magsaysay is making another bid for the Senate. Here's a brief look at his political career.
Born to one of the country's most loved presidents, it was natural for Ramon Magsaysay Jr. to pursue a career in politics. At the age of 27, he became the youngest congressman to be elected to the lower house and served in the Lone District of Zambales from 1965 to 1969. He later returned to the private sector and ventured in various industries. With a keen business sense, Magsaysay pioneered the cable television business in the country, earning him the tag Father of Cable Television. In the 1992 presidential elections, Magsaysay ran under the People's Reform Party as Agrarian Reform Secretary Miriam Defensor Santiago's running mate, but he conceded to then-Senator Joseph Estrada in the vice presidential race. Unfazed by defeat, in 1995 he pursued a Senate seat under the Lakas Laban coalition, garnering the third highest votes among winning candidates. In 2001, he was re-elected under the Lakas NUCD-UMDP party. He was one of 10 senators who voted to open the controversial second envelope during the Estrada impeachment trial. And in 2006, he headed a Senate probe into the controversial multi-million peso fertilizer fund scam. This year, as Magsaysay runs for a Senate seat under the administration's Liberal Party, he vows to push for the passage of the anti-political dynasty bill.
All right, joining us on Hot Copy, Team Pinoy senatorial candidate Ramon June Magsaysay Jr. is with us this morning. Good morning to you, sir.
Karen Davila, it's a pleasure to finally meet you.
Thank you,
Such
sir.
a nice-looking young lady.
Thank you. Napaka-pleasant naman.
Naunahan kita.
Oh, thank you, sir. All right, let's start with this. Your reaction that President Aquino appointed a former congressman, Lanto, who was actually removed by the HRET in 1994, well, from cheating, from benefiting from two falsified municipal election returns. And now, he was appointed by Pinoy in the COMELEC.
Well, that is a revelation because I would think that the Office of the President and everybody else, Justice, the party, everybody, the stakeholders would have done a due diligence.
Yeah.
To check on Mr. Lanto, Commissioner Lanto.
Now, would you put him in the COMELEC, considering his history? Regardless whether or not it's true, the records state he was removed from cheating. That's a fact. It's on the record.
Well, this was in 1994, and he was removed by the House Electoral Tribunal.
Yes.
We have to look at the context of the party then, because sometimes when there's a removal of somebody incumbent, there's a basis.
Okay.
And I think the basis that he really did not win that election. So I think he would have to be removed.
Okay. Now, would you put him in the COMELEC?
I don't think so.
You would not?
I don't think so, yeah.
Okay. Now, you mentioned due diligence.
Yeah.
The administration has been criticized for, speaking without, in other words, they claim, doing due diligence on different issues, like Saba is one. Do you think the administration mishandled Saba?
I don't think so. This is a private group of Sultan Kiram who just decided that it's time to go and try to gain by occupancy ownership of a piece of land.
Okay.
I don't think the Philippine government was aware of that. There was no warning, and the fact that before everybody knew it, they were already there, the 200 or so private soldiers of the Sultan. And maybe it's a lack of intelligence.
A lack of intelligence. I agree.
There must be a lot of human intelligence on the ground. You have the PNP, you have the local government, you have the AFP and other officials. They should have been warned even before the intrusion to another country by this group.
How does this affect Team Pinoy? I mean, the statements made by Malacanang earlier in terms of campaigning in Mindanao. Do you think this will affect your votes?
I don't think so, because it's a campaign is dynamic. Of course, we get a lot of feedback from the locals in Mindanao. We just came from there from Tuesday up to yesterday.
Okay.
And we were on the non-Muslim part.
Okay.
But I think they're trying to see how the leadership, the presidency, will be addressing this. And in fact, I was interviewed a couple of days ago. I said the most important is number one, let the two leaders talk to each other.
Which
Prime Minister
leaders?
Razak and President Aquino III,
Okay.
and just do a ceasefire.
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 Yes.
The most important is a ceasefire, and both groups, the Malaysian Armed Forces will ceasefire, no bombing, while the group of Mr. Kiram will also just be there and stop firing. But
Now-
I think there are some provocative elements involved, and that is what makes it very complex.
Okay.
There might be some groups that would like to, number one, try to distort a future election in Malaysia, or even the elections here for May 13. So it's deeper and more complex than we look at it now. So I would like to withhold my comment, because it's hard to do an analysis when you don't have enough data or input from so many sectors.
Now, I'm going to ask you, should the president already by now, should he make an announcement calling for a ceasefire? Should he do that? Clearly, Malacanang has not done that. The president himself out in the open. They've announced, they've appealed for the Kiram group to go home.
Yeah.
They've sent emissaries. And they've also, again, twice, announced that charges will be prepared, airtight cases will be prepared against the Kiram group.
Right,
So
right.
should the president already announce and call for a ceasefire?
It's hard for the president to call for a ceasefire, because these are not government forces from the Philippines.
No, he will be addressing it to Malaysia, clearly.
Yes,
because
yes.
the Kiram group has already declared a ceasefire.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, there should be a ceasefire.
So
I mean,
should President Aquino do it?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. But will they follow him? Will they follow him? They're not part of the government. But on the part of Malaysia, the Prime Minister Razak can declare a temporary ceasefire and have some conditions. I think the Malaysian government is very lenient and trying to see, these are fellow Malaysians, no? We were in the same ASEAN and we're neighbors. We've been working together for the past 30 years. So suddenly they're faced by a group of Filipinos, who happen to be Filipinos, going there to try to, by occupancy, get some kind of territorial piece of the land.
Okay. All right. You're 74 years old. Sorry
Yes,
for, I have to mention it.
It's in the,
Are you
it's in
older
the
than
Google.
Erap? It's in Google.
I'm about a year younger.
You're a year
Yeah.
younger than Erap.
Yeah.
You were in the Senate for 12 years.
12 years, right.
1995 to 2007.
That's right.
So you won in all the terms possible to, I mean, unless
Yes, yes.
you chose to run again right away.
Right, right.
But you did the full term. Why go back to the Senate? I asked Richard Gordon, and he said, well, other than serving the country, there was a lack of intelligent debate, and he missed seeing that. Why go
Yeah.
back to the Senate at 74?
We need some wisdom, we need some history, we need some perspective, depth of what has happened before. I've always been for reforms, and I was asked. I was just going to the farm. We have a dairy farm in Bai Laguna, and enjoying my life. But then the party, Franklin John, calls me and says, if you want to continue with reforms, this is the president who is doing his reforms. Can you join us? I said, I've not been running for 5 years. This was last year.
Yes. So you were
said I have to consult.
literally a farmer.
Yeah, I was in farming.
And in ice
I was
cream.
chairman of the oil mills group with Bobby Tanyada.
Okay.
That's my only government position during this administration, no?
Yeah.
From 2011 to when I filed October 2012.
And ice cream, don't forget.
Yeah, the ice cream of my son.
Yeah.
He gets his raw materials from our farm.
Yeah, the dairy farm.
Fresh cream, fresh milk, no water.
What, really?
So it's a premium. It's more premium than Häagen-Dazs.
Okay. Wow.
So I wish they can try it.
Oh, I tried it. It was really good.
30-second spot.
Okay, no. So, okay, then you decided to run? Did you have to
I
speak
asked
to the
my
president?
wife. I asked Mila, my sister, not the other Mila, no. I asked my children, my grandchildren. I said, "It's your life. If you want to serve, we cannot do other than you deciding." So I accepted the president's invitation for me to be part of the Team Pinoy.
Okay. All right. In the 12 years you were in the Senate, you were most in recent years when you before you had left, what made you most popular was actually initiating the probe into the fertilizer fund scam.
Right. But more
Are
than
you satisfied with how that finished?
well, the fertilizer fund scam was approved by the whole Senate in 2006, March 2nd. 19 of 24 senators signed. I think 19 of 23 because Noli De Castro was already vice president then. And it stayed 6 years in the ombudsman during the past administration's reign. So it was just not being pushed for decision.
Yeah.
But finally, in November 2011, over a year and a half ago, it had gone up to the Sandigan Bayan for final decision.
Now, do you see any similarities between the fertilizer fund scam and the recent findings of the COA, where the pork barrel of Jinggoy Estrada, Juan Ponce Enrile, and Bong Revilla went to a fake NGO?
Well, there are some similar situation.
Okay.
I haven't really read the report because I was out of it, no longer in the Senate. But the fact that a big chunk of public funds went into a non-performing NGO.
It's fake, literally fake.
It's fake.
It does
So-
not exist.
So
There are no
I feel
projects.
that the COA has to come up with more in-depth and long form of audit.
Okay, but you've been a senator once.
Yes.
Is this a form of corruption?
Of
For
course.
a senator? Tell
of
me.
course. It's a form of corruption. It's possible that they were just signing documents and were not aware.
You mean ignorant?
Yeah,
the senator
maybe,
could be ignorant.
Maybe a staff of the senator could just come forward and say, boss, this is for this foundation or rubber or whatever economic activity.
Okay.
And if the senator is not a thorough person and just signs the documents, he's liable. He
Now-
has signed his name.
He's liable, okay?
He's liable, yeah.
Now, do some senators, I mean, given that senators don't physically hold the money
No.
for their pork barrel.
Yeah.
So could this be a way, I'm not pertaining to these three senators, but I mean, could it be possible that when any senator signs
Right.
and goes to either an NGO or contractor, that's where they get the kickback?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. That's right.
Can you expound on that?
There are
Racket ba to sa Senado?
congressmen, senators, and even agency heads all over the government. The whole bureaucracy, whether you are in the executive, the legislative, or any agency. The fertilizer issue, for instance, the salesman of such a fertilizer would go to a mayor, a congressman, or a senator and says, "Sir, these are fertilizers, good for the farm, etc. And we'll give you a 30% fee,
Yon.
rebate." Yes, that happens. And we were telling some officials of agriculture then, you better watch out about this person because he's doing something that should not be done.
Now, if you win a Senate seat again, would you abolish the pork barrel?
You know, the pork barrel is a traditional policy of all Congresses all over the world is what you call earmark. So if a congressman comes from, let's say,
A fifth-class municipality.
let's say if a congressman comes from a agricultural province,
Okay.
he has his favorite agricultural projects. So he tries to build it up so it becomes competitive.
But what would you change then in the system of releasing pork barrel?
I think the audit, the pre-audit is very important. Let's say they want a bridge. Show me the specs. Show me the bill of materials, labor, everything.
Bago i-release ang pera.
Yeah. And not only that, let them commit to a guarantee. If you're going to build a bridge, okay, you guarantee that for the next 10 years, if anything wrong happens, you are committed to pay for that.
Now, do you think, you said it, if you as a senator sign in a paper that releases your pork barrel and it
Right.
turns out to be a fake NGO, you're liable, whether you are ignorant or a beneficiary.
It's an MOA. They call it a Memorandum of Agreement.
Yeah. So would you say Estrada, Enrile, and Revilla were liable?
Well, if they really sign it,
They did.
At the least, they are not practicing due diligence again. So maybe one of them or all of them trust the person presenting the documents for signature and they just sign it. So they become liable.
Okay.
They become
Now,
liable.
okay. Another one. I'm going to ask you, how would you describe Senate President Enrile's leadership in the last few years?
I think Johnny Ponce really has exercised very good leadership on the impeachment, on a lot of bills becoming laws. I think leadership-wise, on that issue of output of bills and laws, it's impeccable.
Now, your comment on Port Irene, the
Yes.
fact that they've discovered that the importation of second-hand cars have continued.
The Supreme Court has to be followed. I think there are about 600 vehicles that are caught in between. So maybe they should just pay the full duties and taxes.
Would you consider that to be smuggling?
I would consider it a form of technical smuggling.
Okay, define. Why technical smuggling?
Well, when you ship to a free port, it's supposed to be not allowed for use outside. So if you ship there and you try to improve the vehicle, it's supposed to be for use only within the zone or export. But if you sell it outside and goes outside, you have to pay the full duties and taxes. I mean, really commercial. If it's a sports car, it's you have to pay the full duties and taxes.
All right. Now, in the last SWS survey,
Yes.
you have a majority, I think, 10 or 9 to 10 members of Team Pinoy literally in the top 12.
Yes, yes.
And I think only 2 or 3 from UNA. So Team Pinoy in the last survey has been strongly showing, but you are not yet in the top 12. Are you
Right.
disappointed that...
Well, it's not disappointment. It's like very few people know that I'm running.
Okay.
And whenever I go to the provinces, I see a lot of connect because of what I have done and even more so what my father had done for the country. So I feel energized. And in
74,
politics,
nuts.
in politics, 1 week is a long time. If you remember the time of Vice President Binay, he was
Yeah.
always number 3.
Yeah, it was 9%.
Yeah, he was 9%. And suddenly, the last 6 weeks, he started moving up
Yeah.
quietly.
Yeah.
This is what you call the quiet support of the grassroots.
Quiet support
Yeah.
of the grassroots.
Yes, yes.
Now, how does this affect you that there is you, which Frank Trilona said, the real magsaysay, and there's
Yes.
mitos magsaysay, which could be quite frankly, it could
It could be the difference.
it could be confusing when you're voting. Because there are
Yeah.
2 magsaysays right after the other
Right,
in
right.
the PICOS ballot.
Yeah. Well, I look at the voter as a wise voter. Even the farmers, the fishermen, they ask around, what has he done? What has she done? What does he stand for? Does he
Yes.
stand for a better country, for better governance, for more productive society? So all of these have to be taken into account by any voter, especially young voters are so research oriented. They can just Google my name or Google somebody's name and know more about me. So I'm not worried.
You will be after Mitos.
Yes, I'm 24.
She's
number 24.
23.
She's 23. Yes.
Isn't that so difficult? What if someone marks 23? Ay, hindi pala to si June Magsaysay. Erases it. That ballot's gone.
Well, maybe he can have two of us. Iba pala ito. So he'll have another Magsaysay. That's possible.
But you can't vote 13, huh? The ballot becomes null and void.
Yeah.
You were never worried with this?
I was for a while, but the writing of the name was even more worrisome.
Really?
Because I went through that.
Okay.
And in '92, when I was running with Miriam Defensor Santiago as her vice president under PRP, my cousin, the father-in-law of Mitos, Vic, was running with Imelda Marcos.
Yeah.
And a lot of people put Magsaysay, did not say whether it's Vicente or Ramon.
Yeah.
So I think 2 million ballots were spoiled. But in this case, you just shade the oval. I don't think I will lose even 250,000 votes.
Okay.
On confusing between Mitos and myself.
What can you offer if you get a Senate seat again? What will you give that other people cannot?
Depth of experience.
Okay.
Very few people know that in the U.S. Senate of 100 senators, 47% are 70-year-old and older.
Are you serious?
John McCain is 76.
Wait, 47% of the U.S. Senate?
Yeah, there are 100, two per state. 47% are over 70 years old. John McCain is 76. My good friend John D. Rockefeller IV is 77.
Really? Okay.
And quite a few of them are in their late 70s.
Okay. Now, when you were senator, some of the things you've achieved. No, this is for our viewers.
Yes.
So they do have. They are educated. You did initiate the off-base housing program for Filipino soldiers.
Right. That's in Tarlac.
That's in Tarlac.
Tarlac, yeah.
So this was funded kasi minsan may mga batas na hindi naman napopondongan.
Well, part of my PDAF went to this project so that the 30 hectares of Camp Serviliano Aquino would be set aside and given individual titles. So 2,000 titles, 80 square meters up to 120, were given to the ordinary soldiers.
Okay. Then you also authored or initiated the new AFP base pay law. This is now RA 9166, which makes the soldiers' salaries at par with the rest of the bureaucracy.
Right. Before the soldiers...
That's your claim to fame.
Sad mo yan. Well, I was chairman of the Committee on National Defense.
Yeah.
So they were getting a base pay of 8,000 pesos a month.
What year was this?
Law, I think it was 2002.
Yeah.
And with that law, it became like 14,000.
Okay.
I think it's even higher now.
And pinondohan yun.
Funded.
Funded yun.
Yeah.
Okay, because minsan po may mga batas na ginagawa, wala namang pondo.
We cannot pass an appropriation law unless it can be funded.
Good,
there
all right.
There has to be a source.
Okay, and it was also June Magsaysay that started the new AFP Table of Organization Law, which is RA 9188 today. You increased and you professionalized. You increased the number of generals.
Right.
I don't know if that's a good thing, though.
Well,
no, I'm kidding.
You're looking at between 1% of the total to 1.35%.
Okay.
Because how can you have a colonel head a brigade? You need a brigadier. You need a brigadier general, a 1-star, no? So it's just an adjustment because the armed forces, 120,000 soldiers and officers.
Okay, all right. So clearly, when it came to defense, you do have much more, even reforms. I know the Basilan Siege.
The Basilan Siege.
Yes, I was already. We were doing correspondence for that. But in terms of agriculture, you were also, I think, the author of the Agriculture and Fisheries Modernization Act.
Yes.
RA 8435. What has changed with that? after doing that?
The AFMA law is supposed to identify, among other things, a special economic fisheries zone that the government or private sector put in a lot of capital and technology. But what happened in the law, in the IRR, was every province wants to have its own strategic. So it became atomized.
Okay, how would you increase manufacturing in the Philippines? I mean, the last the last numbers we've seen, 7.1% last year during the third quarter. It was not in manufacturing, nor was it in agriculture. And we do know that for jobs to happen, you need manufacturing or agriculture. So how would you do that? Electricity is expensive. Vietnam is cheap. What would you do?
The most important thing is to simplify the bureaucracy.
Okay.
If you have too many requirements, and after 1 year, the company, the investor, whether local or foreign, is still trying to do the paperwork.
Tama.
Maybe just have 3 signatures and let him come in.
Just go 3 signatures for like a 35 or 50 ata in some go
100.
100 plus for power.
Over 100.
Yes, for power.
So it's just red tape.
Red tape, okay.
Cut red tape. Lessen the bureaucracy. The cost of power, you mentioned earlier, currents just too high. I think we're now almost the highest in the whole country.
Yes.
China power is half.
But what would you do? Would you subsidize?
You must have some kind of incentives.
That's what GMA did, and she was criticized.
What the EPIRA law, the regulation of power, was to allow more than one player to supply an area if it's over 1 megawatt, I think.
Yeah.
But that has not been implemented.
But that will happen soon.
If there are 3 power suppliers,
you choose the cheapest.
They can choose the common distribution line.
Yes.
And then the end user, let's say Mega Mall,
ABS na lang. We are more than 1 megawatt.
Maybe you easily 5 megawatts, maybe.
So we can
power, no? So you can choose. Is it Lopez Group? Is it Aboitiz Group? Is it independent group? Then you decide. Then there's competition.
All right. Okay. Anything else you want to add before we go to GAP?
No.
Not okay. We're gonna take a quick break. When we return, we'll continue our conversation with Team Pinoy senatorial candidate June Magsaysay. Sorry, yan ang effect ng kulang sa tulog. All right, Hot Copy. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Hot Copy. With us is Pinoy, Pinoy tuloy. Well, I do hope Pinoy one day. Team Pinoy senatorial candidate Ramon June Magsaysay Jr. is with us. Sir, look at the screen. We're going to show you pictures. Describe. First thing that comes into your mind.
One word.
Well, you can, ideally one word, but no one really follows it. Only Jambi did. Okay, but don't think too much. Okay, go.
Mitos.
That's her name. That's not a description. Hello.
Woman.
That's a fact. That's not a description either. Go.
She has a nice face.
Ano ba yun? Ano ba mga descriptions to?
Una.
That's a fact too. Describe means, what is aggressive or whatever. I mean,
she's wearing red and orange.
Oh my God, this is insane. All right, okay, this is going nowhere. Next. Vicente Magsaysay. This is
a good road builder.
Okay, are you in good terms?
Yes.
Okay, are you? But
he's like a brother.
He's like a brother.
He's like a brother.
But at any point, were you fighting?
No.
During the time that he ran for vice president against you?
We just asked each other, let's have our own survey. The one who gets less, that was in 92, should withdraw. And
none of you withdrew.
He said, how can I leave Imelda? I said, how can I leave Miriam?
Yeah.
So it's just a draw. We just have to go through it.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to leave Miriam. Next. Describe. Oh.
He's a good man. He was a good man.
Was he a good father?
He loved his country. Yes.
He was a good father to you?
He spoiled me.
Spoiled?
He gave me a car when I was 16 years old. Second hand, of course.
Yeah. Is that a good thing?
I think so.
Okay.
He trusted me.
Okay. Now your father, I mean, I wasn't even born, but the classic is Mambo Magsaysay. Because my mother idolized and said your father was one of the best presidents the country has had. But is that difficult to follow in his footsteps?
It's difficult, but it's a footprint already. So
Yeah.
there is like there's already the history that I just read the book on Ramon Magsaysay,
Yeah.
written by Joe Abueva, and I would say, how did he handle the peace and order situation?
Yes.
How he handle corruption?
So what was
it's
his
like
biggest
it's like a
strength?
Bible.
You think if you
I
were
think
to describe a character,
he was not materialistic.
Ah, very
He was not
nicely.
materialistic. I think he was happy with what he had. He gave all his salaries to my mother, and my mother had the whole control, what goes for education, what goes for food. So he was unfettered by money. He was unfettered by money.
And so are you today the same?
Well, I'm a small businessman, so I know how to earn my means, my means of living.
All right, but I think that that's the best description I've heard all week
Yeah.
regarding someone not materialistic, which we do need more in public office, frankly,
Yeah.
and unfettered by money. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
last words.
You like that unfettered?
I love the not
Because,
materialistic. It's the hardest today.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Okay, last words. I'm getting Twitter. We still have a minute. Okay, I'm gonna ask this. OFW Watch is asking, if elected, what would be your platform to support OFWs and their families?
The OWA must do something more than what they're doing now.
Okay.
The OWA gets a lot of money from OFWs. So there must be a fund so that when the member, when he comes back 10, 15, 20 years, he has some fund that he can invest somewhere that's growing. So it's more like
a management fund.
Yeah, like a sovereign wealth fund.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Why should they vote for you? Go ahead, sir. Talk to our maraming OFW nanonood ng Head Start. We're shown abroad.
They should vote for me because they have researched my life, they've researched my background, and I haven't stolen anything from the public treasury, and I'm a good man. They need a good man in the Senate.
No, well said. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. But I do agree
you.
with that. I haven't stolen anything.
I haven't stolen
Okay,
anything.
your number is
24.
24. So Ramon,
24 hours a day. They'll never forget that.
24 hours a day. Yeah.
What a difference the day makes, 24
Yeah.
little
Can you
hours.
sing? Can you sing one line for me? Can you sing anything?
Baka umulan eh.
Hindi, you cannot.
Ha?
Do you sing in the campaign trail? Sige
yeah.
na, one line lang.
One line.
Yeah.
Mambo, mambo, magsaysay, mabu, mabu, mabuhay. Ang democracy will die kung wala si magsaysay.
Okay. Number 24 in the PICOS
24,
ballot.
yes,
24
yes.
is Ramon June Magsaysay. Replay of this interview is at 6 p.m. today. And we'll have a weekend replay as well. It's going to be cut to 30 minutes. So guys, don't think that it's just a time cut for 30 minutes later. So words to remember by as we close the week. There is something good to consider when voting for a candidate is choose someone who is not materialistic and unfettered by money. That's Get Start today. I'm Karen Davila. Have a good weekend, everyone. Take care.